On January 9th, 2024, 13-year-old Ziyah Harris vanished after getting off her school bus in Detroit, Michigan. As investigators delved deeper into the case, they soon uncovered a series of disturbing details that raised. Janelle contacted CPS and filed a complaint, but after her call, she said CPS never followed up. Another family member also made a report to CPS 2 months after Janelle's, and according to reporting, CPS conducted interviews but determined that there was a low risk for police. However, the allegations against Jarvis shifted their focus to him, and they began taking a closer look at his relationship with Ziyah. On February 15, 2024, Jarvis' bus was brought in by police for questioning, and during his interview, Jarvis tells police that he had been dealing with a legal issue on the day Ziyah went missing. He claimed to have no knowledge of where she could be, but he did mention that she would sometimes come to the auto shop where he worked to spend time with his daughter, who was her cousin. But despite Jarvis's denial, police began to suspect that he may be involved in what happened to Ziyah. As the search for her continued behind the scenes, law enforcement began to focus their attention on Jarvis Butts. Now, while he claimed to have no knowledge of what happened to Ziyah, the accusations made by 2 family members regarding his inappropriate behavior towards her, along with the fact that he was listed on the sex offender registry, raised serious questions. This, combined with the emerging evidence, was enough to place him at the top of the suspect list. Once detectives began to focus in on Jarvis, they began to uncover disturbing evidence about his relationship with Ziyah, and they quickly learned that there was something disturbing going on. They turned to Jarvis's phone and internet search history to try and determine what had been happening in the days leading up to the disappearance. They discovered that on the day Ziyah was last seen, January 9th, 2024, a text was sent from her to Jarvis using a school district-issued tablet. The text read, "Don't forget to be here before 3. I will let you know when I'm leaving the school. If you're not here, I will wait." After that, she texted him, "Send OK if you see the message so I can delete your number." And Jarvis replied, "OK." After discovering those messages, they contradicted what Jarvis had told police in February, because he claimed that he had not seen Nazis since late December, early January at her grandmother's house. He said he didn't know the last time he had spoken to her. And when asked if he was supposed to meet her on even more questions about her disappearance. In the months following Ziyah's disappearance, detectives worked tirelessly, combing through Detroit and the surrounding areas, following leads and searching for any sign of the missing girl. They scoured abandoned. January 9th, he said not at all. Now, he was also asked why Ziyah would have his number saved and why she would be texting him. Then he said that he didn't know, but once detectives discovered that he lied, he became their prime suspect. They used his phone to track his location the day Ziyah was last seen, and discovered that the phone traveled from Detroit, near where his auto shop was, to Ypsilanti around 4 p.m. on the 9th. After speaking to Jarvis's sister, she told them that she saw her brother with a little girl at his shop on the 9th. She said she asked him who the girl was, and he told her that it was his girlfriend's niece. It wasn't until after she went missing that she realized the girl was Ziyah. In Ypsilanti, another witness, a woman, told detectives that Jarvis and his business partner, Cordell, who was the father of her child, came there to work on her mother's car. The witness told police that Jarvis introduced Ziyah as his niece, and she said that she didn't speak much, but she didn't see anything unusual going on. After leaving Ypsilanti, the phone traveled back to Detroit, to the auto shop. And then that evening, Jarvis checked in to the Park Crest Motel. The next day, he checked out at around 12:30 p.m., and his phone then traveled to the River Rouge area of Detroit. Investigators began searching the area where Jarvis had traveled, and when they searched the area near 7 Mile and Burke Road, they made a shocking discovery. In a wooded area, they found several pieces of clothing that matched the clothing Ziyah had last been seen wearing. The items included a pair of red and black and white Nike sneakers, a pink jumpsuit, a hoodie, some gloves, and a dirty towel. The evidence was collected, and DNA was taken from the items found at the scene. The evidence pointing to Jarvis's involvement was growing. After denying ever seeing Nazis, investigators had found witnesses that saw her with him the day that she was last seen. He lied about being in contact with her, and her clothing was discovered at one of the locations his phone traveled to. But what they discovered through these movements was only the tip of the iceberg. Now, after obtaining warrants for Jarvis's phone and Google search history, they learned that Jarvis had been grooming and abusing Ziyah for years. Text messages between them dated back to 2022 and showed that he had been engaging in inappropriate behavior with buildings, wooded areas, and waterways, hoping for a break in the case. Volunteer search parties joined the effort, braving the harsh weather conditions, while law enforcement expanded their search into neighboring cities and towns. Despite the relentless, this child since she was at least 11 years old. The messages, which I will not read, showed a disturbing and disgusting relationship between the two. But it was the message that Ziyah sent in September 2023 that investigators believe ultimately led to her death. On September 26, 2023, Ziyah sent Jarvis a text revealing that she believed she had missed her period. In a series of text messages exchanged between Ziyah and Jarvis, Ziyah expressed an uncertainty and fear, telling Jarvis, quote, "I'm scared. I don't know what to do. I have to go to the doctors tomorrow." In response, Jarvis said that he thought that she had taken a pregnancy test, and it was negative, but Nazi said that she needed another one and had no money to buy it herself. She pleaded with Jarvis to get one for her. Growing increasingly desperate, she sent multiple messages urging him to help. Quote, "You ain't scared to get a plan B? Get a pregnancy test and bring it later today. Just act like you have to use the bathroom." When she didn't receive an immediate response, she continued pressing. "Please, will you do it? Hello?" Finally, Jarvis replied, "Okay." The discovery that Ziyah was pregnant and that Jarvis was allegedly the father sent the investigation in a whole new direction and helped to narrow down a motive. Not only was Jarvis abusing Ziyah, he had been grooming her for years, and her being pregnant was a complication that he did not want to deal with. As a registered sex offender and with a history of abusing children, he knew that if anyone discovered what he had been doing to Ziyah, he was going to jail for a very long time. And so he decided that he would get rid of her. In December 2023, after Jarvis found out that Ziyah might be pregnant, police found that Jarvis, between December 8th and December 11th, 2023, had repeatedly searched for information about abortions, visiting Planned Parenthood's website multiple times to look up details on abortion pills. But his searches didn't stop there. He also looked for over-the-counter abortion medications and visited websites promoting herbal teas as a way to end pregnancy. There were also searches about drinking red antifreeze. And once the text messages were found, investigators working the case believed that Jarvis Butts was the person. There were no concrete leads, and the sense of urgency grew with each passing day. The search for Ziyah was not just about finding her. It became a race against time, as every moment without answers brought more pain. Responsible for Ziyah's disappearance. And despite the fact that her body had not been found, the evidence that they had collected told them that Jarvis had murdered her. On September 26, 2024, Jarvis Butts was charged with first-degree murder,
child sexual abusive activity, and second-degree criminal sexual conduct. Even though Nazia's body was not found, prosecutors believed that they had enough evidence to prove that she had been
murdered. During a press conference announcing the charges, prosecutors said that Jarvis was a serial predator, a quote, classic expert groomer and pedophile, who they said used his relationships with women to get close to
the young girls in their families. Quote, he groomed and preyed upon Ziyah with expertise. We will prove that he killed young Ziyah after he found out she was pregnant at 13 with his child.
During their investigation, detectives had learned that 2 years before Ziyah went missing, family members had reported to CPS that they believed that she had been abused. Now, although the allegations had not led to an investigation, for detectives searching for clues about this disappearance, it was a huge red flag. And so they obtained those records and learned that a man named Jarvis Butts was the person being accused of abusing a then 11-year-old Ziyah. Jarvis was dating Ziyah's aunt, Shannon Harris, who he shared children with. Investigators learned that in February 2022, Ziyah's great-aunt was allegedly told by Shannon that Jarvis had been touching her and 2 other children inappropriately. Now, the great-aunt, who was later identified herself by her first name, Janelle, in an interview with ABC7, said that she immediately became concerned after talking to her niece because she knew Jarvis was on the sexual offender registry after he served 8 years in prison for third-degree criminal sexual conduct. Now, initially, Janelle said that she did not report the abuse because Shannon told her that she would report it. But on April 13, 2022,